Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Today, we're filming a special episode. Yay! So we're filming this on Sunday, June 29th. And on Tuesday, July 1st, it'll be our 4th anniversary. Happy birthday to us! Yay! Yay! Okay, I'm the only one being loud about that. But anywho, so the podcast is 4 years old, people. 4 years old. And so I looked up some of our stats. I'm gonna read these off really quick. As of today, June 29th, we have published 209 episodes.
Damn.
We have had 13,479 downloads.
Damn.
And the top 5 countries where people have downloaded our episodes: the US, that makes sense,
Shocking.
Germany, the UK, Canada, and Australia.
Interesting.
Who knew? Who knew? That's good on us. I'm very proud of those stats. Good job, partner.
Thanks, partner.
How do you feel about it being our 4th anniversary? Oh boy. Buckle up, people.
Well, quite frankly, I'm a little burned out, Raquel.
Okay. I knew you were I knew you were gonna say that. Because surprise, people, we've been talking about this a little bit. So
I mean, I want to be honest. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, everything's cool, shit's good. There's some reasons for it. People may or may not know I went back to work. Things are looking pretty good. I've been having a lot of fun since I've been back.
Good.
A little bit of stress. It is.
It wouldn't be work if there weren't a little bit of stress.
It's an interesting thing because I worked 4 years. I worked for years and years and years of my life, as you do. And I never thought much of it. And then I had 2 years off. It's a lot of work to go to work.
Yeah, it is.
I've been used to like waking up when I want to, doing what I want to. I mean, I still had sort of a daily schedule, but let's face it, I was living a life of leisure. And now I'm not. And so between going back to work full time, some of the podcast has been, let me just say this, it was a lot easier when I didn't have a job. So how did you do it all these years with the job?
Because I don't know. I absolutely love doing it. Okay, so I think I will say that maybe the fact that I don't have kids may have made it easier. I don't know. Because I don't know anything different. I've never had kids, so I don't know.
Kids do take a fair amount of time. In my life, not as much as they used to, obviously, because they're in college, but now they're home for the summer.
Right. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, the editing part of it, which is what you generally do, maybe takes more time. And I think maybe that's it too.
It does take a fair amount of time. Okay, before I left my job, when the podcast first started and I was still working, I used to do the podcast. I used to edit it every Friday night. It was my Friday night date. Sometimes I would sit down with a pint of ice cream. Sometimes I would sit down with a little drink, but I would edit on Friday night and I would always be done on Friday night. Then, when my mom was home, I still did the same thing for a long time. After my mom died, maybe I got a little sloppy because I started doing the podcast on Mondays, editing it. And it would take me pretty much all day to edit the podcast. And granted, I'd get up, go do this thing, go do that thing, come back, edit some more. And I have to say, I am probably way pickier than I need to be. I probably could edit it faster than I do, but I have listened to some unedited podcasts, and people can do what they want. I don't enjoy.
I don't enjoy those either.
I wouldn't say I don't enjoy them. I don't enjoy them as much.
I'll go ahead and
Especially
say it. I don't enjoy those.
especially the ones where the two podcast hosts like you and I
Uh-huh.
get on a tangent and go off into la la land, which we do. We do that
Sure.
all the time.
Sure.
A lot of times I cut a lot of it out in the
Yeah.
editing
Mhm.
because when I'm listening to it backwards, I'm like, people don't really want to hear it. That's like a conversation you and I have. Some of it's good, some of it I leave in, but some of it's a little too much for people who don't know us personally. And so that's the thing that I have trouble with in other people's podcasts is when the two hosts go too much on their personal, not, I love personal information. So this is coming out all wrong, but
Mhm.
when they have too much of a personal between the two of them conversation that has not really anything to do with the topic, I
Mhm.
sometimes like fast forward through that part of the podcast.
Got it.
But I mean, everybody listens to different things for different reasons, and
Yeah.
that's personal preference, nothing more than that. And I could save a lot of time if I didn't edit the podcast, for sure.
Okay.
And I've thought about it, but I'm not really willing to give it up.
What do you think would help your burnout? Just not
6 more hours to every day.
okay. Well, I cannot help you with that, ma'am.
Nor
Do I think.
and I need to be able to stay awake during those 6 hours. They won't help if I'm sleeping through them.
Okay. Okay.
Raquel, this is my own issue to solve.
No. I get that. I do get that. But that issue does affect whether or not there's going to be a 5th anniversary of the podcast.
I'm not quitting the podcast.
Okay.
At least not yet. No, sorry.
For people who are watching, y'all just saw my face.
Yeah, I'm just
It wasn't pretty.
We have guests booked into February of
Yes.
2026 already. Not a lot, but you know,
but some.
Because I don't know if you all know it, but Raquel and I read a lot of books, and
I think they do.
And we've decided, and this was a good decision on our part, to only do 2 per month. And so to people who are asking for us to do a book review, now they have to book in March of next year. And then it will be April.
Well, yeah, because we want to do justice to the work that those people have done, so that if we're going to have that author on, and the purpose of the interview is to talk about their book.
Yes.
Because to be fair, you and I and many of our listeners have listened to podcast interviews where they're talking about the person's book and the interviewer did not read the person's book.
Again, a lot of times I will skip through or just because when we have authors on, I think you do the same thing. I search podcasts of the author and I listen to other people reviewing their book ahead of time, or the author speaking. I like to hear the author speaking.
Yeah.
If they didn't read the book, I do lose interest in the interview very quickly. If it's focused on the book, it isn't always. Sometimes it's focused on something else the person has done. And then I find that, like, we have a podcast coming up in the next month or so, maybe 2 months, where we have an author that's coming on, but we won't be reviewing her book. We will be talking about something else that she does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we can mention the book, sure, but we haven't read it, so I don't want to do a review on it.
Yeah, exactly. No. And that's totally fair. That's totally fair.
No, but that little thing, doing 2 a month, has really helped, because sometimes it's overwhelming. I love to read the books, but to have a book to read, podcast to edit, podcast to do, a job to go to. And then also I might be a kind of an overbooker kind of person.
What?
Me?
You?
No.
Girl, stop
Girl,
it.
no, you don't overbook your schedule. You've never done that. I actually had to cancel 2 really important appointments to me this week. Because I wanted to do both of them. One was with White Crow, who you know.
Who's been a guest on our show.
She was doing goat yoga at her place on yesterday. I really wanted to go. And then one of my really good friends from high school, Dina Novak, was going to be in town. I was supposed to have brunch with her today, but last weekend when I was in Chicago, I had a little bit of van trouble.
Oh,
And it set me back on my work. And so I knew I was going to have to work some this weekend to make up. About Tuesday, I canceled those. I was like, this is it right here. You're feeling all this stress because you made all these plans and now your time is crunched and sometimes too much, and sad to let go of those opportunities, but it was the smartest thing I did, was to say too much, because then this weekend has been a really nice, lovely catch up weekend rather than try to shove
yeah.
some, and I feel that
Trying to
stress.
running around like a chicken with your head cut off.
Yeah, and I feel that stress. I don't want to feel stressed like that. That's the thing of going back to a job. It's not the job necessarily. It's, do I let that stress creep back into my life? And I realized I had to empty my schedule a little bit to catch
Yeah.
back up. I had
Yeah.
work I needed to do. So
Maybe the
how,
difference for me, and again, because I haven't been doing the editing of the podcast, but also I'm not an overbooker. I know that I tend to get really overwhelmed if I overbook. And this comes from when I used to work two jobs. Like I'd have a full-time job and a part-time job.
a lot.
And I, yeah, it's a lot. And I did it for years and years and years because I had to. But when I was doing that, I got to a point where I had to have one day where I didn't do anything. I didn't work either job. I didn't plan anything. I just had to give myself one. If I decided that day I wanted to go do something, fine, that's one thing. But I had to have a day where I didn't have anything planned. So if I literally like rotted on the couch in my pajamas, then that would be that, then I would let myself do that, right? Without any guilt. That has kind of held over to my current world where I only have one job outside of the podcast. It's really important for me not to overbook myself. So
Mm.
that's, I mean, but that's just part. And then also, I mean, I'll just be perfectly honest. A lot of times I don't overbook because I'm like, will I have the money to do that? So that's part of it for me too. And, and that's my own hurdle, whatever. That said, the the burnout hasn't happened for me the way that it has happened for you, or even really at all. Because I think and then when we do have the weekends where we don't have anything planned, because for for our listeners and for our viewers, we do have weekends where we don't record because we have weekends where, like this weekend, where we'll record two episodes.
Yes, but
But
the reason we don't have podcasts is because I've planned something else.
okay, that's fair. But while you're
Gallivanting.
well, you're gallivanting, I'm taking full advantage of the fact that there's nothing there
Yeah,
on that weekend.
but
But
I'm
you're the one
still
who's like,
overbooked.
right, exactly. I guess what I'm saying here, people, is that the division of labor has been very uneven. Sorry, Jennifer.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, okay. It's been a little uneven, but it's okay. For the last how many years?
It's
I
been
haven't,
4 years.
I know, because it didn't start this way, but for at
Yeah.
least for the last 2 years, I haven't been working. You have. So the division of labor didn't seem like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually not even sure it is a big deal. I am still adjusting to being back to work. This
Right.
is relatively new for me. And since I've been back to work, this is the first weekend I've stayed home.
Oh,
So if you noticed the last several podcast episodes, I've
yeah,
been
you've been in different
somewhere.
locations.
Yes. So, and this weekend I was supposed to go do the goat yoga and have brunch with Dina. And after I had car trouble and lost the day of work, I was like, I'm going to have to work. Staying home was actually probably the smartest thing I did, because I slept in a little bit later. I got the house cleaned up. When the house is
Yeah.
not quite picked up, everything, I
It all
swear,
just
like,
kind of, it feels like it's all piling on.
yeah, whatever's like when the house is in disarray, the mind is in disarray a little bit,
Yeah.
I think.
Same.
I really, really value this conversation because one of the things I've really been working on is being really honest in my, how do I feel? What does my body feel? Yes, the division of labor has been a little off. Did that bother me? No, it did not. It didn't.
It bothered me though. And
Oh,
I think and I think you and I've talked about, at least in the beginning, or like maybe not the very beginning, maybe not like at year 1, but it has come up a couple of times, but mostly I just sit around feeling guilty about it. And
well,
feeling
that's,
like
well, don't do that.
I'm not carrying my weight, but I do other things, listeners. Please understand, I do other things. So I think I am an integral part of this
Yeah,
podcast.
we have a pretty well split division of labor. We know who does what every week. We follow
Right,
through
right.
with it. It
That's
works
true.
really well. I don't know that there needs to be any change there. I'm still adjusting,
Okay.
but I appreciate this conversation because this is polyamory style. Let's put it on the table. I love
And
this
let's
new,
talk about it.
I love this new polyamory thing. Not that I'm polyamorous, but maybe I should
Neither
be.
am I, girl. I'm not even amorous.
I'm not either right now, and I haven't been for a while.
I
So
like
I
it
really
too.
do appreciate the conversation because I don't even 100% know how I feel about all of this. I do know that I've been feeling some burnout around the podcast. When I
Mhm.
asked myself, do you want to quit the podcast? The first thing I thought, I think you asked me when I
Yeah, I
told you I was
did.
burned out, you said, do you want to quit? And I
Yep,
was
I
like,
sure did.
I think about it every day.
Yeah, and then of course, because if anybody has watched or listened to the show for a while, y'all know I'm the emotional one on, and girl, y'all know I shed a couple of tears after that. And
I'm sorry.
one or
I'm not
two of
always,
them, were in front of Jennifer, and then like
I'm sorry.
800 more were on my own.
I'm sorry. I'm not
No,
always the most tactful
no,
person.
no. Yeah, I mean, you're being honest, and I totally get it. And here's the thing, though, is that with any, and you and I talked about this at the very beginning, that we wanted it to continue as long as both of us were happy, right?
Yeah.
With that in the back of my mind, and with what you said, literally, I was like, okay, so then what? So if you decided, hey, that's it, Raquel, I'm out, I don't want to do this anymore, then I would have to decide, is it the end of the podcast for me too? Or do I do the podcast by myself? And if so, what would that look like? And would listeners even still tune in? Because
Yes, they would.
I don't know that, because part of, and I think a large part of what people appreciate about our show is the relationship between the two of us. And if there is no us, and it would just be me interviewing people, or episodes where it's just me, who the hell?
People,
I see, but I don't know that though. And remember, I don't know if we talked about this on the show at the very beginning, but when you came to me and said, "Hey, I have this idea, let's do a podcast." And I was like, "You know what? I've wanted to do a podcast, but I stopped myself because I didn't think anybody would give a shit about what I had to say, because I'm just one person."
how many
And that
downloads
hasn't.
did you just say we had?
Yeah, but that's both of us. And I honestly, there's still part of me, and this isn't like me putting myself down. It's just me trying to be realistic. I don't know how interesting it would be for people to listen to just me, or
Okay, well,
just me and
a
a guest.
guest.
Yeah.
Well, hold up.
Well, but I'm
Ain't
trying to be
nobody,
I'm
ain't
trying to be
not,
real. I'm trying to be
ain't there,
prepared.
nobody going anywhere.
I'm trying to be
You
prepared.
said, how are you feeling?
I know.
I did a full body scan. I said, I'm
Go again.
a full body scan.
I love
I
that.
am feeling burned out, right?
Got it. Got
And
it.
then you said, do you think about quitting? And I said, every day. Okay, maybe I was a little rough because I'm just learning to express my feelings. I haven't gotten completely into it.
Well, and to be fair, I was feeling a little what's the word I'm looking for? Delicate, no, well, vulnerable. Uh
Yeah.
something. I was feeling a little puny that day, maybe, and I was like, yeah.
Jennifer burns it down. But okay, so that was the first thought that came to mind. But the second thought that came to mind was like, oh, we have guests booked till February of next year already. I'm not gonna like not do those episodes.
Got it.
Authors have sent us their books. They have
Yes.
entrusted this with us.
Yes.
That is a commitment we made. So stuck with me till February at the very least.
Got it.
And the other thing is that I don't want to quit. You
Okay.
asked me if I think about quitting. I said, yes, I think about it every day. But at the moment, I don't have any intention of quitting. Sometimes I do think that maybe we should do seasons. Maybe we take the summer off, or maybe we take Christmas vacation off, or maybe, but maybe we have a month somewhere in the year where we don't produce any podcasts. Just a thought. And then we do the next season, because we have not missed a week since we started.
That's true. We literally have not.
Another option, as I was thinking about this, we don't do a weekly podcast. We do it every other week. But then if we did that, which I don't like as well, we'd only be doing book reviews because we have 2 a month.
That's true.
I don't know. These are just things that I'm not going anywhere right now. I'm not the type to bail and leave everybody hanging. We would have a succession plan or an idea, or
well, the succession plan would be that I would just do the episodes, like,
or you get another partner. Someone replaces me. We
Who
do
the hell's that gonna be?
auditions for the new Jennifer.
Who the hell? Girl, I don't even know who that would be.
Can you be the new Jennifer?
Oh shit. Oh god.
Sometimes my ego is like out of control. But then I'll be like, Raquel and the new Jennifer. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I don't like that new Jennifer.
I would be so jealous.
And I would be too. Like, I thought about it. I thought, well, what if I could, so like you leave and I continue to do the show by myself, but then later you're like, well, I want to do another podcast, but I'm going to do it with somebody else. And then I like envisioned like me listening to it. I'd be like,
what the hell?
I don't
if
like
I'm
who the
burned
hell
out
that
from
other person
this
is.
podcast, am I taking on another podcast?
Girl, I didn't say any of that shit in my head made sense. I'm just
Why
saying.
would I do that?
I'm just saying these are the thoughts that run through my head, child. Yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
Okay. All right. Cool. So basically, listeners and viewers, what we are saying is there may be some changes for 2026. There may be some changes. I honestly, and I'm going to put this out there because I really would like to hear from our listeners. If we did do times where we take like a month off or 2 weeks off, or we do seasons and we take like a summer off, like, what do y'all think about that?
Would you come back?
Right. Would you come back? Would you know to come back? Would you? Because I know that I have shows or podcasts that I've listened to where, I mean, sometimes they'll be like, okay, just reminder, listeners, we won't be here the next 2 weeks, but then we'll be back with blah, 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 blah. And that's fine. That I get, right?
And do you go back?
Because they just stay in my feed, right? Like I don't unfollow them. But I do know that there are some podcasts that I listen to where they have seasons. I'll go through my up next list of like the different podcasts. I'm like, well, this one hasn't like put out a podcast in like 3 months.
Time.
And then I'll be like, well, obviously that show's not around anymore. And then I'll just delete it. And I have no idea if they come back. I have no idea.
Well, a lot of several podcasts that I've listened to have decided to take long extended breaks. I don't think that's what I have in mind. I think more like we take a month break at Christmas time and we take a month break in the summer. So we have a few weeks in both times where we're not recording, producing, editing, all of that. That would be lovely. I think the goal is more something like that, like vacation. We're having our PTO from our podcast.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, yeah, but I want to know from our listeners, like, what do y'all think about that? Would that
Season 1 was really long. It was 4 years long.
Season 1 was 4 years long.
Well, it'll be more than that because we haven't made any changes yet.
That's true, yeah. But
4.5 years long.
Right. So would our listeners, would they respond well to that? Like, would we lose them in that process? So that's what I would be concerned about for our own mental and physical health. It could be something that we visit for 2026. And why not? I mean, I know I was really afraid to do that before, and I'm probably not exactly unafraid of doing it now, but it makes sense. It makes
I
sense.
also think that listenership is really down during the month of December, early January, and it's also
You're right.
really down in the summer months.
That's true. I
And
think I
people,
might be the only person who listens consistently to all the podcasts I listen to. I listen to pretty consistently because I will listen to them while I'm at work or while I'm in the car or look, my boss don't care. My boss knows because
great.
I'll have my little earbuds in, or sometimes I'll just have them playing just out loud while I'm so but I get my work done, so that's the important part.
That it really actually is the important part. And actually, it might actually work for you.
It does, and and on days where I know, or even just like moments in a day where I'm like, okay, this isn't working right now, then I'll just turn it off, and I'll just be completely like silent and focused. I do know how to bounce between the two.
All right.
So
So let's put this all off. Let's take it off the table for right now. We did good. We did our polyamory discussion time. We're getting better. I wonder if people know what I mean when I'm saying that. What else did you want to talk about? It's our anniversary.
It's our anniversary. One thing that I'm very excited that is going to continue for next year is that we're going to continue the banned book series through 2026. So
but maybe
very
10
excited.
instead of 12.
Yeah. That might be what we do. And for this go round, we are probably going to concentrate on banned books that were written by women.
I'm all for that.
That might be a good focus.
I mean, we are a feminist podcast after
That's
all.
very true. That's very true.
Actually, I had a friend recently contact me about a guest they wanted to have on the show, a man that they met who had a really compelling story. And I listened, and his story is great and probably a wonderful person. And she said, what do you think? And I said, you know what? It's been more and more rare where we've had men on the podcast. And there has to be a compelling reason for us to do that. Because we're a feminist podcast. That doesn't mean we don't like men, right?
Right.
But the reason for them to come on the podcast has to somehow support the message. And also this whole thing about amplifying voices. We are making a conscious decision to amplify female voices.
Yeah. That's something that we need to consider and to lean into more.
I agree.
Especially given our current political climate, we need to lean more into amplifying women's voices.
Not to say a man couldn't be on the podcast. We've had a lot of really wonderful men on, and it fit. And we've also had conversations with men where great conversation. Maybe they wrote a great book, but it doesn't really fit what we're trying to talk about. It's just not a right fit. It's not you, it's us.
It's not you, it's me.
No, but I mean that for real. Not like in the dating sense.
Well, maybe I did. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, there have been some that we just didn't want to have them on the podcast. We've had a couple books we started to read and we're like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I'm really glad we made those decisions. Because I think spring back 4 years ago, in the beginning, if those authors had reached out to us, sent us their book, would have been so beside ourselves. Oh, they sent a book. We got a book. We would have interviewed those people anyway,
Yeah.
even though it wasn't what we wanted to talk about.
Mhm. Although, I'm gonna push back on that
Okay,
because
good.
there was somebody in the first year that, we
Oh,
had
I
the
remember
book,
that one.
and
I do.
then we were like,
I do remember that.
nope, we're not gonna do that one.
I do remember
So,
that. You're right. You're right. Okay,
yeah,
I was thinking we had a little less backbone in the beginning.
we do definitely have more backbone now than we did in the beginning, but we still had some backbone going in. We did.
I think we are getting clearer about this isn't really a backbone thing. I think we're getting clearer about what it is we want to say on the podcast,
Hmm. Yep.
what kinds of topics we want to talk about. And
Yep.
sure, there's a wide range and variety of them, but there are some things that they're great topics, but they just don't fit on our podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's a good thing though, because there are so many things that so many topics and so many policies and ideas and things that affect our lives that can be and need to be viewed through the feminist lens. And that's I think that's why there is a range of what we talk about, because our lives are mostly multifaceted. The world is multifaceted. There are so many things that we have to look at through that lens, right? Being a feminist isn't just, oh, I want to make as much money as men, or hell, in some cases, I want to make more money than men, but whatever. I mean, but there's also, you know, healthcare is a concern, childcare is a concern, education is a concern, the environment is a concern. I mean, there's
Autonomy is a
right,
concern.
autonomy is a consent is a concern. Like
Consent. Oh,
all of these things can be contained in the feminist bubble. And I
yeah.
think us having that discussion and us acknowledging that is an important piece, because there's so many people who still to this day in the year of our Lord 2025 who still don't understand.
The year of our Lord.
There are still
You
people who
crack
don't.
me up.
Well, it's the Southern in me, honey. I know. But there are so many things that people don't understand, that there's more to being a feminist than just
Hating men. We don't
that.
just hate men.
We don't just hate men. Anyway, tongue in cheek, people, tongue in cheek. But, well, not always.
Sure,
You
but
know.
I think I hate more men now than I did 4 years ago. I mean, I think we have
I don't know. I don't know.
I
I
think
don't think that's true of me. I think I hate probably just as many now as I did then.
I think I have Trump to thank for that. He's just brought so much more to my attention.
I think I was maybe more aware. I think I'm still as aware now as I was then. I think maybe the difference is that, and we've talked about this before too, that you were more of the mindset of giving men the benefit of the doubt, or, and I'm not saying I
Yeah,
don't give men the benefit of the doubt, but
that's wearing on me these days. So there's a
yeah,
lot less benefit of the doubt wanting
yeah.
to it's like, come on, guys, like, come on. Come
Yeah, and yeah,
on.
and and this is probably gonna paint me in a shit light, but whatever. Like you also were more concerned with, well, they're going through so much, and I'm like, fuck all
That
of that.
that's the codependent in me.
Ah, okay. Whereas I'm like, they're old enough to know better. They're old enough to get help. They're like, oh, we should control everything. So guess what? If you think you should control everything, take care of your shit too. How about that? How about being accountable
You're on
and getting your
fire
shit together?
today. It's
It's
good.
because I
No,
slept pretty much all day yesterday. So
I
now I
think
have energy.
I think maybe you're not as codependent as I am. See,
I don't know.
I did
I don't
not
know.
I did not think I was a codependent
Hmm.
because I'm very independent. But then I started researching it, and there's
Hmm.
this thing called a high functioning codependent. And I
Oh,
fit it almost to a fucking T.
Ooh, maybe we need to do an episode about that because I don't know. I may be codependent. I don't know. I haven't been in a relationship in 1,000 years.
You don't sound codependent when you talk. See, I'm like, yeah, but boy, the boys were raised in the same thing that we were raised in, and but I know better, but they don't. But they need time to it. Yeah, it's codependency, man. It's fucking codependency, and
Ah,
it's something in my brain
mhm,
got warped that way, and now I have to actively work on no.
got it.
And I don't think your brain is warped in the same way that my brain is warped.
Hmm.
Probably other ways, but not in the
Oh,
same
yeah,
way.
in other ways, absolutely. Like
Right. We're
you know
all
because you know me, and the listeners know because they've listened to me for a while. You're like, y'all know I'm warped. Yeah, I do wonder about that though.
we should do an episode on high
We
functioning codependency.
we really should because I do wonder if there's some of that in me as well because I could be one way in I mean, like I said, I it's been 1,000 years since I've been in a relationship, so I do worry that I tend to lose myself in relationships, so maybe I am codependent.
I think that's partly that is being female.
Mm,
It's what
mhm.
we've been trained to do, but that's also part of codependency. But I think I lost my train of thought. I think
I think and it's gone.
and maybe we should talk about brain fog and menopause. Oh, we've talked about that before.
Doesn't mean we can't talk about it again, no. There you go.
Yeah. When you were getting ready for this episode today to talk about our 4th anniversary, what else was on your list of subjects?
We've talked about possibly like restructuring how we do things, but where else do you want it to go? Like, is there a topic that you want us to focus on some at some point next year? Is there a guest that you really want us to go after for next year? Like, do you have a plan for where you see the podcast going? We'll just focus on next year as opposed to me going, "What's your 5-year plan?" Because we don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. But
We
so
don't
for
we
the
don't know.
next year,
I hadn't really thought about it because, like I said, I've been a little burned out.
right?
And I've just been, when you're burned out at work, this is a similar thing. I've just been treading water,
Yeah.
trying to keep doing what we're doing. That being said, I've really enjoyed all the episodes that we have done while I've been burned out. That part has been really refreshing. And I
Okay, that's
enjoy the
good.
people that we speak to, and I enjoy talking to you and all of that. But just on the spot, thinking about it, I think I want us to go. This is a bad word. I think I want us to go a little deeper feminazi.
Okay.
I think
Let's
I
say more
want
about that.
I think I want us, maybe you need to lead the way in this. I think I
Okay.
want us to call out the bullshit a little bit more.
Okay.
And
I can do that.
I think our topics have been great. I've really enjoyed them. I want us to dig deeper into what it is to be a female in this world. And I think
Mm,
we're going to be held to the fire in that with the politics that are going on anyway.
mhm,
And I don't want to back down on that. I don't
mhm,
want to be like, oh no, our government could be knocking on our door. We need to censor ourselves. I want to less censor ourselves.
mhm,
I want to
mhm.
say more
Right.
about why we need to have voice, why we have been taught that we are inferior when we in fact are actual goddesses.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is no life without women. Clearly, there's no life without men either. We need both.
Yeah. But we carry life. Not
Also,
like we generally people, y'all know I don't have any children.
we are the portal,
Hmm.
and yes, men are involved. Clearly, they have the sperm, right? But their process in that, not that they're not good fathers and all that. I'm not trying to take that away, but they create life for like 3 minutes. We create life for 9 months, 10 months. It takes
Hmm.
it and it's not just about life, okay? Life, that's a metaphor in a way. We are the creators.
Mhm.
We are powerful beings. Maybe we are
Yeah,
not as physically strong. Maybe there's a reason for that, an evolutionary reason why men are men and women are women. I won't, there's probably a lot of truth to that, but I want to move beyond and really celebrate our womanhood. I'm tired of womanhood being the bane of our society's existence.
good.
I want us to rise to the level that we belong.
Okay, good.
So
Good. I'm really happy to hear you say that because you have said before that being female was the bane of your existence, right?
yeah,
And I have never felt that. I've never felt that. So I'm really,
I
really
don't think you're
happy.
codependent. I don't think you are.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't
I
think
don't
you
really know.
are.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I think it's a really good thing to hear you say that. And I think it's also a really good thing to hear you say that you want to dive deeper into the feminist part of things
Yeah,
because at one point you also were saying, do we need to continue to focus on
I
being
was
a feminist podcast?
because I'm fucking codependent and I was trying to take care of all the men out there. I was sorry about their little feelings.
And I don't care.
I know you're not
I
codependent.
don't care. I mean, yes, there are men in my life and I care about their feelings, right? I do. But then I'll also be like, okay, you're a grown ass man. Grow the fuck up.
Yes,
Get the
you are
help that
not.
you need to.
You are not a codependent. I need you to always be the example of how to. You're right. Fucking men, grow the fuck up.
Well, there you go. There you go. And I
All right.
will try to rise to that. I will try to live up to that. But to be fair, we do have an episode coming up where we talk to somebody about decentering romantic relationships with men. Like we
Hallelujah.
talk about decentering men. And I think that is a really important, it's a really important thing.
More topics like that.
Right, right.
A lot of the things that we talk about, sure, they have a feminist slant, but I think it's time because of what's going on politically, because
Hmm.
they're going to try to bring us back, because they may try to take my credit cards away from me.
Hmm.
Because of that, I want us to get more powerful.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, we absolutely. And I think people need to understand what truly is at stake here. And I don't think everybody understands that. I don't know if people understand that the comment that you just made that you don't want your credit cards taken away from you. I don't know that everybody understands that that is a real thing that could happen
Our
because
houses,
it wasn't until what was it 1975
1973. I think it was 373.
1973 when a woman could get a credit card without either express permission from her husband or her father or some other man in her family
Cosign, her father to
to
cosign.
co-sign. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's real. That is real. And it wasn't until maybe the 1980s or even the early 1990s when a woman could get a business loan on her own.
And sometimes that's still hard to do.
It is still hard to do because the vast majority of venture capitalists are men, white men to be specific. It's very important that that women know what is at stake and how recent some of these gains are. And because we don't talk about these things, we're doomed to repeat them. And there's the old saying, what the history that you don't know, you're doomed to repeat. So we need to talk about these things. And
What
there you go. So if I have to be the one to, be the hard ass,
you
I
gotta
can do
stoke
it.
that fire. Stoke that fire.
I can do it.
What vision do you have?
I see us doing more of what we're doing, but being more focused about it, which I think is basically what you're saying. Uh, I I I see us being more, and we've started doing this, but I see us being more specific and what's the word I'm looking for? Discerning
Love
about
that. Love that word.
about who we have on as guests, what topics we discuss, whether it's with our guests or just with the two of us, and that we have more of a laser focus about what's important to us.
Feminist issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we need to talk about that more in
Mhm.
our episodes with our guests.
Absolutely, because that's very important. And in an age where being a strong, confident, self-sufficient woman is being poo-pooed and even dumped on and vilified, we need to stand up and go, yeah, we're fighting against that shit
Yeah.
because being strong and independent and self-sufficient is wholly necessary. It doesn't mean that, we're doing this to, you know, in hatred of men. No, this is called taking care of myself, right?
Yeah.
This is taking care of ourselves. That because we know that when it all comes down to it, you cannot expect that somebody is going to be there to save the day. And
Again,
that's
that
a
romanticized notion.
right, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. We can't expect that our knight in shining armor on a white horse is gonna swoop in and save the day.
Dude, something happened to mine.
Mine ain't never showed up. Okay, mine's caught in traffic or something. I don't know where mine
Something
is.
happened to mine.
I don't know where mine is. His,
Uh,
his horse got tired. I don't know. He ain't around. He
Where'd
ain't,
it go?
he ain't here. He ain't here.
Interestingly enough, I saw this thing on Instagram the other
Mhm.
day, my news source. They were talking about the red pill for young boys being
Mhm.
Andrew Tate and his misogynistic message. But on the flip side, the red pill for women, young women in particular, being this trad wife,
Yeah.
being this not subservient. They didn't shell it out that way. They shelled it as like you can be protected and led. I love this word led
Mm.
that they use, and they sort of romanticize it, because I remember being in my 20s and kind of wishing someone would show me what to do.
Mhm.
Someone
Mhm.
would lead me. How
Mm.
romantic to have a man lead you in your life. It's
Right.
not romantic. It's
I
not.
wanted I romanticized the protection part. Not so
Protection.
much the leading, because I don't like people telling me what to do.
Yeah. And I get what you're saying, but this is the red pill that they're serving up to young women in
Mhm.
our society now to make those traditional roles look good, because having a job is fucking work. Because
Right.
owning your
And
own
but
home,
so is
trad
staying
wifing.
home.
So his trad
Trad
wifing.
wifing is a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
Sure it is, but that's not how they're serving it up. They're
Mhm.
serving it up in this romanticized version of, oh, you stay home, you get to read books to your child and bake with them during the day, and then your provider will come home and take care of you. It's not like that,
It is
people.
not.
It's an interesting idea of how to take an old concept and reserve it to the youth.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to up our feminist message.
Okay, I like it.
Focus more on the feminist aspect of who we are. Yes, and there was a time where I thought we should take that out of the name.
And I stood strong and I said, "Nope, we
Yes,
are
you
not
did.
taking that out."
Yes, you did. That's what you got to do. You got to stay strong, because I am a codependent, high functioning, but a codependent nonetheless.
There you go. So that's my job. I have my marching orders. I still am so in love with doing the podcast. I'm so in love with doing this.
I think you should sing about it.
Girl, no, no.
I'm so in love.
I mean, I truly am. Sometimes I wonder if I am falling into the trap with the podcast that I had fallen into before with my career or lack thereof at one point. That I was like getting all of this identity and wrapping too much of myself up in, well, before it was, I'm supposed to be doing this, but my career really wasn't really a career. It was just like a series of jobs. And so I felt like, oh, I was shit because I didn't have that externally located focus of identity. But with the podcast, I really, really love doing it so, so, so very much. Like I said, I literally am in love with doing this. And in a way, this is a way for me to kind of have that dream of that almost of being a documentarian. This is the way that I can meet and talk to lots and lots of different people about lots of different topics and to shed light on these things.
Yep.
And so, in that way, I'm sort of living out a childhood dream. It gives me a purpose outside of my job. And in a way, that's it's a little bit scary because because the podcast means so much to me that, that's why I brought it before that I'm like, okay, if you get to a point where you're like, okay, I still love it, but I don't want to do it anymore, then it's incumbent on me to figure out where to go from there, right? That's part of all of this for me is okay, this is something I have to figure out in the back. I'm like, not saying it's an immediate like I got to figure it out right now, but it is something that I need to consider for at some point in the future because at least right now I don't see myself not ever doing this. Like I literally in my brain have an image of myself as like some 70 something year old retired woman and this is what I do. Right? Like I read and I talk to people and I record it and I put it out there and people see it or they don't, but I'm still doing it because
Yeah.
it keeps me engaged, right? So,
You could sing right now. I'm still standing. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that is my least favorite Elton John song.
Okay, well, scratch that one. I just feel like you're so passionate right now that you should be singing. What would you
Well, thank you.
sing?
I shit, I don't know.
Okay.
Damn it, I'm not good at the singing part the way that you are. It doesn't just come out of me.
I can't sing at all. I hear the sound, I
But
hear the
but
song in my head and I
but
go to sing it
the
and
songs come out of you.
it doesn't come out the right way.
It's all right. It still comes out. It's good. It's still good. It comes out. It makes me
It's like when
smile.
I draw. I have this idea of what I want to draw, and then when I draw it, I'm like, that's not what was in my head. Same with the song. Doesn't sound like what's in my head either. It is
Yeah. So,
always good for every organization, every partnership.
mhm.
Again, back to polyamory. It's always good to have a succession plan. Like
That is very true. That
what
is
is
very true.
gonna happen?
Mhm.
And who knows? Maybe what you're saying right now is exactly what you believe, but maybe someday you're the one that says, I don't want
That
to do
could
this
be.
anymore. And then
That
I
could be.
have to make that decision
Yeah. Yeah.
of what I would do. But I
Yeah.
think right now, I think we just need some vacations.
Okay. We can do that. So, listeners, just keep in mind there are going to be some vacations in our future. So,
I
it'll
think
happen.
so.
I mean, I probably won't be going anywhere, but
But
hopefully, I will be able to go somewhere.
yeah, I mean, Don't say that. There's lots of places to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Anything else you wanted to say?
I do want to bring up like one thing that,
Okay.
because it's been going through my head this whole time we've been having this conversation. My cousin Robin made a comment to me years ago, years and years and years ago. And I don't know how we were on the topic or what specifically were, like where this came from in whatever. But maybe we were talking about like having kids, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to have kids, blah blah blah. And you know, it I don't, because I don't want to be like a single parent, blah blah blah. I wouldn't want to do it by myself, and plus I just don't want to be a parent, whether I was married or not. And she said, you always have to be, or a woman always has to be prepared if she's going to have a baby, that she's going to be a single parent, because there's always the possibility of death, divorce, or disease,
It's
which would
true.
essentially make you a single parent. And she said, even if you are in what you think is the best relationship, marriage, whatever, in the entire world, something could come along to change that. So you have to be prepared to be a single parent at a moment's notice.
Damn, I wish I had talked to her.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and that, her saying that, first off, like resonated with me hard. Like it's in my cells, right? I mean, I took that message in,
Yeah.
but I also took it in another way of there's always got to be a plan B, right? Like you have to be the one you have to be prepared to take care of yourself,
Mm,
either by figuring out what your plan B is, or no, by figuring out what your plan B is going to be. And your plan B could be anything. It could be your nest egg. It could be I can get a second job. It could be I'll do it by myself. It could be, whatever. But there should always be a plan B. You need to have a fallback plan. So yeah, maybe some people would say that that's basically trauma and whatever. Okay, fine, maybe it is, but
I think it's smart.
you know, yeah.
I mean, years ago, I bought a dog about 13. How old is she? 8 years ago. 8 years ago, I bought a dog as my plan B in case I
Uh-huh.
never got into a relationship. Guess who I sleep with every night?
There
I
you
sleep
go.
with plan B.
There you go. There you go. So
And
yeah,
we're
so
and we're
it's
pretty we're
smart.
pretty happy.
There you go. It's smart to have a plan B.
I think so too.
Yeah.
That's a really good message to end the podcast on. And
There you go.
also we need to keep plan B legal.
Yes, please keep plan B legal. Yes. See, it always comes back to the feminist. Keep plan B legal, people.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, keep plan B legal.
Plan B is a feminist issue in all of the ways that we've talked about today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome discussion, Jennifer.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
We
Happy
make
anniversary.
thank you. We make really good polyamorous, except for the sex part.
Yes,
And
for the sex
and
part. And the fact that there's not a third person.
and that there's only two of us. Okay, so we're getting better at communication.
Yes, yes. That, and that's key.
Oh my
That is
God,
key.
it's big. Okay, so we're not so good at polyamory.
No. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend.
Or you could leave us a comment and a 5-star review, or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks, everybody.